Buenos dias, familia. This is Gangsta Guri coming to you with a word on today. Today I wanted to focus on the idea of boundaries. Instead of doing something where I'm writing normally, I figured I would speak to you all. Lovely, there's sounds are going off in the background, but hey, who cares? The idea of boundaries came up to me just in a situation where I was confronted with something that made me think about where I kind of like set lines and where I kind of like set myself up in order to make sure that I'm being honest with myself. When I think of boundaries, I think of things that I know personally I may have fallen short on as far as like making sure that I tell people, hey, I don't want to do this or whatnot. I'm the type of person that likes to appease other people a lot of the time. It's in my nature to kind of like put other people first, or just make sure that, everyone else is happy before I make myself happy. What I've realized as I've gotten older is that making others happy before you kind of like figure out yourself is really important. Because you have to make sure that you know what's important to you, what makes you tick, what makes you doesn't. And also just like the idea of sacrifice. Now we know in relationships, and that can be in a friendship, in a romantic relationship, any kind of relationship, boundaries are extremely important. I'll give you a perfect example. Like my friends, since I have become sober and things of that nature, they know that certain locations, certain places aren't the types of spaces I want to be in. And those are me setting my boundaries and them understanding and being respectful of those boundaries. But sometimes we don't know how to vocalize those boundaries. And this is what I want to share with you guys today. The more that you don't vocalize what's important to you and what is your thumbs up and what is your thumbs down, the more that you allow people to manipulate your spirit in a way that is not pleasing towards you. I think of any type of relationship where you feel like you're sacrificing something, but you know inside your gut, your intuition is telling you that something is wrong. And I want you to kind of resonate and think about the ideas or the situations in which you kind of feel not connected to and where that comes from. Think about where your boundaries have been started from. I think of your childhood, and I think of my personal childhood and certain things that I wasn't able to do when I was growing up. Growing up in the South, a lot of the times, my boundaries were like, be in the house by this certain time or what have you. You can't go out with this certain person because X, Y, Z. You can't spend time in this place because of X, Y, Z. And those were boundaries that were set in place for me. I never got the opportunity to figure out what I liked or what I didn't. And a lot of that manifested itself into my adulthood because I never had the opportunity to really figure out what I wanted. A lot of the boundaries that I was given were imposed upon me by other people. Now, I want you to take a step back and think about your own childhood. A lot of the times, or actually just like in life, what we receive and what we know comes from what is given to us by our adults, by our caretakers, or by other people that we revere as being kind of like the end-all, be-all in terms of what's true and what's not. I had to rationalize a lot of those boundaries, especially around like my sobriety and things of that nature, because I knew that the boundaries that I thought were going to be okay for me weren't necessarily the ones that were needing to be in place. And it took a lot of trial and error. And I want you guys to understand that with boundaries or just like making sure that you're setting yourself apart from something that does not serve you, you really take the time to decipher and really like dig into what is okay for you and what is not. The more that you allow people into your space and the more that you allow situations to arise that don't work for you, the more that you are allowing negative energy to kind of like permeate you, and it makes you depressed. It makes you anxious. When you stand firm in who you are and when you really resonate in what's truthful for you, what works for you and what doesn't, you have the opportunity to really, really think about, okay, I don't like this, or I'm not feeling this right now. My energy is not really resonating with this. How can I vocalize that in order to make sure that everything works out for the better. I want you to take some time today to think about, what are your boundaries? Do you have any? I learned through therapy a lot of the times I didn't have any boundaries for a lot of my life. A lot of the times I would go and do things that I knew weren't of me because I was trying to appease someone else. And I feel like a lot of the times when those boundaries were kind of like pushed, that drove me into situations that found me hurting myself. Whether that would be through alcohol, whether that would be through just like self-deprecation, whether that be through depression. Like, I found myself being in situations where I wasn't happy. And a lot of the times when you're not setting up those situations or setting up kind of like those walls in order for you to protect yourself, that's when you feel that you're least happy, or the least amount of happiness, whatever you want to call it. I can say whatever the heck I want. This is my page. And I want you to take some time today to reflect on, what are the things that you can really, really influence more, or just really, really just like stand firm in, so that way other people understand where you are and understand your true passion, your true just like aura, instead of trying to make other people think that they can do whatever they want. Sometimes people will be a little confused when you switch up on them. But at the same time, as a human, you are ever evolving, you are ever growing, and you have to remember that. You have to remember that, if someone doesn't respect where you are coming from and how you are willing to change, how are they going to be able to value you as a person if you're, not standing firm in your truth? It makes me think about something I read in this book. It's called The Motivation Manifesto, and it's 9 declarations to claim your personal power. It says, basically, mature adults realize that motivation is not an accident, not so much a feeling as it is a conscious commitment to a motive, a choice towards something, a deeply held reason to act. It is an energy that results from thought. We feel motivated because we choose to, not because the sun happens to shine on our side of the street. So if we want more motivation in our lives, we must make clearer choices and more deeply commit to them. Today, I want you to deeply commit to recognizing, what are your boundaries? What do you not want in your space anymore? What does not resonate? What does not serve you? If you can figure that out today, and you can really plan that out, list that out in a way that's going to be beneficial for you and beneficial for the people around you, so that way they don't take over those boundaries, you're in a good place. You always have to start from somewhere. It's progress. It's not perfection. And every day you're learning something new about yourself. Continue to figure out what those boundaries are today. This is Gangsta Gary signing off. I hope this spoke to you in some kind of way. Have a wonderful day. Namaste. Shout out to Caitlin, Big Brother 20.